All right, now we're looking at worksheet 5-16, and I'm looking for what are my factors. If I multiply, I get a negative 35. If I combine, I get a negative 2. Okay, well, what are my factors of 35? That's simple. 1 and 35, and 5 and 7. And I say it's simple because there's only 2 of them, or 4 factors, I should say, 2 sets. Now, which one of these is going to get me to negative 2? That's not going to do it. Cross that out, so it's 5 and 7. So now, what are my factors? If I multiply, I get a negative 35. If I combine, I get a negative 2. Well, it's got to be p minus 7 and p plus 2. So I have p minus 7 and p plus 2. So my values are p is equal to 7 and p is equal to negative 2. All right, so this is my solution. These are my factors. Okay, the reason why I'm having you go through both is because on your test, it's going to ask you, give us the roots, give us the solutions, solve. What are the zeros? What are the x-intercepts? Well, those are all right here, the 7 and the negative 2. When it asks you for the divisors or the factors, those are those things right there. All right, so then I look at number 9 and number 13. Now, this is very similar to 515, what we were finishing up with, or I should say it was at the very top of 515. And so now we're looking at 516, same concept. We're going to go through the same steps. I just want to help you along and get you there. All right, so very first part. Can anything come out of everything? I've got a 15, a 21, and a 6. Do they share anything? Do they? Think. 15, 21, and 6. Yes, they do. They do share a 3. I heard that answer. So now I have 5x squared minus 7x, okay, plus 2 equals 0. Okay? Now, these are so much easier numbers to deal with than if we had to take 15 times 6 and we get 90 and it'd be huge. Let's deal with some smaller numbers here. All right, so now we got to take A times C. Okay, and what's my A value? I only have to work with this one now, the 5, instead of the 15. So now I take 5 times 2. All right, so now I've got 3. And I've got x squared minus 7x plus 10. All right, so now what are my factors? If I multiply, I get a 10. If I combine, I get a negative 7. I think we just did something like this already, where what were my factors of 10? 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Do you see why we go over basic factoring first? Well, because it lends itself into can-co-e. It also lends itself, of course, into completing the square. So this all comes back. We do this over and over and over again because we see it in so many places. So now what are my factors? Well, 1 and 10 aren't going to work, so it's got to be 2 and 5. So now I'm going to factor as usual. So now I take 3, okay, and I have x minus 5, x minus 2. All right, then I've got to put my a's back in front of my x's. What were my a's? The 5. So now I've got 3, 5x minus 5, and 5x minus 2. Now, I still had somebody ask me the other day, so we have to put these back in both x's? Yes, you do. That's why I have the a's back in front of my x's. All right, so now I reduce. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. In this case, we can. They both share a 5, so that's going to go to x minus 1. Now, I keep carrying this 3 all the way down, okay, just to remind me, just to know, hey, that 3 is still in there. We're going to if we needed to, we'd have to multiply this by 3 to get back to our original problem. But to find our solutions, those aren't going to change. So now, what are my solutions? Where does this cross the x-intercept? What are my zeros? What are my roots? Okay, well, it's going to be x is equal to 1, the opposite of what's in the factor. And then if I have 5x minus 2 equals 0. I'm going to add 2, add 2. I now have 5x is 2, divide by 5, and I have x is equal to 2 over 5. Those are my solutions. All right? Same deal for down here on 13. Okay, same steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. We're going to do the same dadgum ones. Can-co-y. All right? A 4 comes out of everything. So 2v squared plus 2v minus 10. Okay? Now, a times c. Same steps each and every time. So I have v squared plus 2v minus 20. All right? Then I factor. All right? I have 4. What are my factors of 20? If I multiply, I get a negative 20. If I combine, I get a 2. Well, our factors of 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. Oh, that should be a 1. I'm sorry. When I took out the 4, oh, sorry. When I took out the 4, I wasn't paying attention, okay? Not a good thing if you're a math teacher, okay? But my sincerest apologies. When I factored out a 4, for some reason, I made it a 2. Should not have done that. Bad math teacher. All right, so now I can ask myself, what are my factors? If I multiply, I get a negative 20. If I combine, I get a 4. Or I get a 1. Boy, I still got it on the brain. It's getting late. All right, a 1. Well, 1 and 20 don't do it. 2 and 10 don't, but 4 and 5 do. So v plus 5, v minus 4. Okay, then I go back here to my steps, put my a's in front of my x's. So I put my a's back in front of my x's. So I have 4, okay, and my original one, 2. 2v plus 5, and 2v minus 4. Okay, so now we reduce. Okay, so now I have v. 2v plus 5. 2 and 5 don't share anything. But these do. They share a 2. v minus 2. So now I solve. This one I already know. Take the opposite of it. V is 2. What is this one? 2v plus 5. Subtract 5. Subtract 5. 2v is negative 5. V is equal to negative 5 over 2. Okay? All right, so those are my solutions. And no, Diet Coke did not pay for this video. That was just free advertisement for a company that makes more money in a second than I do in a year. Okay, not that I'm bitter, just teasing. All right, so those are my solutions down here. That's where they cross the x-intercepts right there. Those are my roots. Those are my zeros. This was for 516. Okay, do your best on all of it. 1 through 6, basic factoring. 7's a little different. I want you to try 7. We've done it before, but I want to see if you can do it. All right, and then from that down to 14, okay, we have all of our problems there in advanced factoring. And then 15 through 21 are completing the square, and we'll do a few more examples of those.